And this week, we're talking about generating and converting leads with your real estate website. Honestly, this is by far one of the most important topic. And there's so many people, first, don't even know a lot about it, one, and two, don't even leverage it. And you know how I know that? Because of the amount of real estate agents that don't have a website, one, or they have a listing on their broker's website. So what you're doing is all these marketing and all these money you're spending. And the crazy part is that there's no way that you're losing actually money on capturing your leads. So let's talk about that. We brought on Jacob. He is a digital marketer, website specialist. He's a co-founder of Marketing and Mindset, which is, he's my business partner. And he's also a real estate entrepreneur, and he's also a real estate agent. So he's the best person to ask all of these questions about real estate website. And I will, in my biased opinion, I will say one thing, he created my website. I'll put a link to it. It is by far, excuse my language, kick-ass website. It is one of the best websites out there for real estate. I'll have you check it out, because he took my strategy, my vision, because I'm also a marketer for over a decade, and I gave it to him, and he kind of made it come to life. And I'm not going to say it lightly when I say this. I truly encourage you to listen to his answers, because they're going to change your business, and you can trust me. You can build a really powerful business by having a really good website. So Jacob, thank you for being here. I'll kind of open it up to you to give yourself a quick intro too, because I would love for people to hear from your own story of who you are.
No problem. Thank you to you and Kyle for having me here. So I really appreciate it. Basically, my name is Jacob Sharman. I am here in Houston. I am a marketer turned realtor. So I've been licensed for a little over a year and a half, but I've been in real estate since 2014, flipping houses and stuff. But I have been in the marketing industry, digital marketing, especially web design and local SEO type building and management for over 15 years. I've worked for myself for the last 10 years, running my own marketing agency. So this is what I do. And that's why I got into real estate, because one, I saw a need with realtors, and I was able to hit the ground running because I know marketing. So it kind of gave me an advantage in this industry. So I'm super excited to talk about this. I could talk about this topic all day long. So
yeah. No, last time we had you here for SEO, it literally went way past the hour. So we'll make sure to keep it short this time. So first off, what I wanted to ask you is, why do agents need their own website? I know I touched on it a little bit, but I want to hear from you as the website, specialist.
So one, to answer that question, it depends where you're at in your business. So to me, does every realtor need a website? Yes, because that is the first thing you do in business. But if you're just like a super part-time agent and you're just doing 1 or 2 deals a year, don't waste your money in getting a website. But if you are a serious part-timer that's, doing, at least 10 deals a year, and you're building a brand and maybe you're trying to move full-time, you absolutely need a website. And here's a few reasons why. One, like you said, when you're posting, whether it's an IDX page, so we at eXp Realty, we have KV Core, and yes, we get a free website that's automatically built and kind of generated. But the problem with that is my brokerage owns that website. So if I ever, for some miracle, decide to leave eXp and go to a better opportunity, or let's say somebody in this group came to eXp and you're using your broker's IDX page, you can't take that with you. So all that time and all that energy, even though it's a templated website, you spend setting it up, guess what? You got to start that process. And on top of it, a lot of people don't even go to that beginning step of purchasing their own domain name. So if you're using your broker's domain name, so like mine would be jacobsharman.exprealty.com, and I post that everywhere and I leave, now people that, if I'm not with eXp Realty anymore, they're going to go to that domain name or click it in any of my bios or previous stuff that they've seen in posts. And guess what? It's going to say page not found. They're going to think I'm not in business anymore. So one, you can't take it with you. You don't own it. But when you don't own it, you don't have control over it. So you can't control every little bit of content that goes on there. And your content looks like everybody else in your brokerage. So you're not really standing out. You're losing SEO abilities because you're not in control of how the search engine can look at that website and the content on it. And the biggest reason is it doesn't reflect your branding. There's a big misconception in branding real estate. Talk about this, kind of our pet peeve, is people think that their brokerage's branding is their branding. Your brokerage's branding has nothing to do with your branding. People are not going with you because you're at Remax or EXP. They're going for you. You are your brand. And so if you have a website that's templated, that looks like everybody else's website, and you're using your brokerage's website, guess what? You're not standing out from competition. And it's honestly literally a waste of time. So, it's great to have your own website so you can be in control of it. You can have it really reflect your brand. And no matter where you go, if you switch brokerages, you can just swap out that logo, swap out that address or contact information. And guess what? Your website hasn't changed. They won't notice that quick update, and you still have your website that is evergreen for you.
Yeah, you can even literally, like I had an agent who moved from Pennsylvania to Orlando, and she literally just had to change her website, change her MLS, and do some tweaks to make it work for that market. But she's her brand, that's not changing, right? If you can, so I wanted to talk really, for a lot of people that isn't technical, what makes a good website? And can you also, while answering that question, touch on, what's the difference between, you said domain, and you said, website as in like a page on a broker's website versus what is your own? Because sometimes, I was talking to one of my agents who is not in the marketing technical space, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Canva and make a website. Like, I was like, no, wait. And so can you talk a little bit about what makes a good real estate website?
So for a real estate website, number one, you have to have good design. So when you talk about somebody that says, I'm going to go to Canva, it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody here remembers, but in like the 90s, when websites started becoming popular, everybody was building them in Notepad, or they build them in Microsoft Word, and you could save it as an HTML page. And it literally looked like a Microsoft Word page because that was the extent of it back then. The sad to say is even in today, we still see that. People building these quick templated websites that they're not even editing the template correctly. They have no sense of design. So you want to make sure your website looks like good design, because our user is more savvy today than ever. So they know a good website. Plus, there's so many scams out there that you literally don't even know if you're on a real legit website. So if a website looks like it's quickly put together, then it kind of doesn't help with that trust factor. So good design, and your website should be easy to use and easy to navigate. So one, using responsive design, so it readjusts based on mobile. If you don't have a mobile website and you don't know if you have a mobile website, go to your website on your mobile device. If it looks so far zoomed out, you can't read and you got to zoom in, you don't have a mobile website, Google's going to ding you for SEO for that. But as far as, you want it to be easy to navigate, and why? Because if we take a look at SEO too, then if the user is quickly leaving your website because they can't find what they need, remember, our average user today is very, lack of a better term, ADD. They are quick to read. They don't like paragraphs. They like bullet points. They're going to skim the top, definitely skim the middle, and then go quickly to the bottom and just keep scrolling. So if in under a minute they cannot find, really you have about 30 seconds. If they can't find what they need to answer their questions or their problem, they're on to that next search result. So you want good design, easy to navigate. You want to satisfy their intent. So the user has a goal when they come to your website, to find a home, to find out what their home's worth, talk to a realtor, or get in contact with you. Make sure your website has a clear intent that satisfies the users what they're looking for, but there's a clear goal to with, like a click call to action. Make sure they know what information they can get and they can find it quickly. Make sure you have consistent messaging. It's so funny to see on a website, like people promoting that they're luxury, and you come to their website and it looks like a very relaxed, very chilled website, or vice versa. It's, they come and they see a luxury website, or they only see homes in the 300,000. So make sure that your messaging is consistent throughout your website. It's user-centered content, and that your website looks like it's trustworthy and safe. Make sure you have an SSL certificate. So there's security certificates. You'll know if you have one if when you see your URL, you'll see the HTTP. If it has an S after that, that means it's secured. And Google will notify people when they come to your website, hey, this website doesn't look safe. So guess what? You're losing traffic. And then you want a website that communicates very well with search engines, that you're registered with them, and that you can track the analytics of your audience. Make sure you have Facebook Pixel on there, because then everybody that comes to your website, you're building an audience if you ever do paid ads. And on top of that, you want to know, is the majority of my user mobile? Are they on desktop? what's really funny is too, especially with being a realtor and kind of very hyper localized, if you have a lot of people, you're in Texas and Houston, and you see country-wise that you have a lot of people from Canada or Mexico or Ireland coming to your website, there's a disconnect somewhere. So make sure you can track your audience. But overall, it's about creating a good user experience and that they can find everything super simple and easy.
Awesome. And what are some solutions that you can recommend when it comes to websites?
So when building a website, there's no easy way around it. There's so many ways to do it. And to really get a good website, you're going to spend some money. Now, there's people that go out there and spend 5-10 grand for a real estate website, depending where you're at in your career. You shouldn't be spending that much. But the best solution, whether you're going to do it yourself or you're going to hire somebody, one of the best things for me is WordPress, because WordPress right now is the popular. It's been around for 20 plus years. And right now, I looked it up this morning, over 835 million websites use WordPress right now. So that's that's almost 50% of the websites that are live are using WordPress, and it's gone up 43% since last year. So the reason why is because it's super flexible, and there's so many templates, there's so many plugins that you can add to it to increase functionality without having to hire a programmer. And so the reason why I think it's super important to use something like that is because whether you build it yourself or you hire somebody to build it, request them to build it in WordPress. And the reason why is, I don't know how many times I've had clients come to me, I have a website, I paid $5,000 for it, I can't find my web designer anywhere. My website hasn't been updated in 2 years. Well, guess what? Because they built it in a complicated platform, I'm going to have to spend more time going through their code to figure out what they did versus having a super manageable platform like WordPress. So do yourself a favor, have something that is very versatile, that no matter who built your website, or if you have to go find somebody else or hire an assistant, it's easy to understand, easy to update. So that way you never have outdated information. So WordPress to me would be the best solution to start with.
Awesome. And right before I give it to Kyle to ask his set of questions, one of the last questions I have is, how do you incorporate, I know you talked about the importance of branding, and we'll talk about how important it is to, if you could touch on that, how do you incorporate your brand into your website and to make sure that you stand out from the competition, making sure you're consistent with everything else that you have, that in terms of promotions?
Yes. So branding is super important. You and I, we talk about this all the time. So one thing I want people to take away, and this probably is controversial, I think even you sometimes would disagree with this, but to me, branding is ongoing. So the overall core of your brand is going to be the same. Understanding what your brand is super important, because your brand is more than a logo or a couple colors. You are your brand. So that experience, if I say I'm going to go work with you as a realtor, and I say Tharmila Realtor, that invokes an emotion inside of me. So I'm either excited or I'm like, oh, this girl drains me when I have to go meet with her. So that's a part of your brand. So what are you communicating? But remember, your brand is ongoing, and don't rush into your branding, because a lot of people quickly, oh, I need a logo, I need this. And it has nothing to do with their target audience, has nothing to do with them, has nothing to do with their area. So don't rush your branding, don't stress out about it. But branding in your website is super important, because you don't want to disconnect, you want to have everything seamlessly look like no matter where they find you, there is a connection. Okay. The first thing you're going to do, like I said, nail down your brand identity. So know your target audience. Know why you're launching the website. I get all the time from people over the last 15 years that'll say, I need a website. Why do you need a website? Well, I just know I need to have one. Well, there's no goal for it. You're just wasting your money. So know exactly why you're launching a website, and then what the ultimate goal of that website is, to generate leads, whatever it is. Know your ultimate goal for that website, what your unique selling proposition is, and what makes you different for your competitors, because without that, you can't even begin to put the content and the branding in there. Then obviously you're going to go get your branding elements designed. But when you design your website, you're going to put everything into a cohesive online presence. So that means your website, your profiles, your social media should all have the same look and feel. It doesn't mean they have to be exactly cookie cutter the same, but the same colors, the same fonts, the same feeling. When I go, that I know this is Jacob. Jacob is yellow, blue, and dark blue. But if I go over here and there's pastel colors everywhere, there's like a disconnect. So make sure that your branding is seamless inside your web design, and then build a website that people can trust your services. part of that branding is having a website that works. There's no broken links. There's consistency of message again across all pages. You've got testimonials. You're giving that social awareness that people are backing up what I'm saying on this website. And then part of that, just making sure you're communicating and having call to actions in that website that communicate what you're trying to accomplish for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's why it's important that before you get to the website, take a moment, couple of steps back and determine, put together that branding identity exercise, right? Do your, figure out what your personal branding is and, what embodies that, write a little story. And I think that narrative, and as you grow and however you become, that should automatically reflect on your brand. If you've watched any of my YouTube videos and you come into these training often, you heard me say this before, your online presence. So if you're on YouTube, you have websites, whatever it is, your online presence has to match your offline, your behavior. So when you meet people, remember, we're in the people business. It's not going to be many times where you're not going to meet your clients in person. You're going to show them properties. You're going to have some sort of a relationship with them. And when you meet with them, they need to be like, oh, that's so cool. I'm meeting with that. That's the exact person that I took from when I heard them on, I saw them on their website. I saw this ad and, or when I talk to them on the phone, they're the same person when I meet them in person. So I think it's really important that there isn't a disconnect, right? So, and that's what that branding is all about, is that is beyond the look and feel. And if anything, that is the last thing, that is just a vehicle to translate your story, and you'll know that by the way people respond to your brand, and the more you put out content and the more that you have a website, all this stuff. And Kyle has some questions that's going to help you answer this too. What Jacob's going to answer is about generating and building your database. But with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Kyle so that he can ask his set of questions as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So far, a lot of great information there, Jacob. But now I want to ask a little bit more, tactical, practical application questions. Okay. So I'm sure you can give us some good answers there. So first of all, I know you talked a little bit about this with Thermella, but what exactly, can you explain to people in case they don't know, what exactly is an IDX integrated website and how does it work and why do you actually need one of those?
Okay, so we'll start out. So IDX basically just means Internet Data Exchange. So this is usually just applied to the real estate industry. It's basically software coding that displays a bunch of real estate listing information on websites. So it usually ties to an MLS, or depending where you're from, if you're in another country, you might have a type of service, but here in the States, we use MLS. I know in Canada, you guys do too. And basically you're connecting to that kind of flow of information. So an IDX will basically establish a data connection between your website and the database of the MLS, and then it's going to import those listings and display that information on your website. And this allows clients to search real time, and you can connect that to your website via, scripting, coding, embed type code, plugins. For example, KV Core we use, there's actually a WordPress plugin. So if you want to have your own website, you can purchase a license to their WordPress plugin. And what you can do is put that coding all over your page so your user never has to leave your website and it can tap into it. So why do you need an IDX? Is because if you're going to be selling real estate, you don't want to just have a few featured listing properties listed on your website. You're going to want them to have access, because if not, they're going to go search on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com. You want them searching on your website, and you want to be making sure that you're tied into an IDX that gives real-time data that updates regularly from the MLS, so you can show those properties as soon as they hit, and there's not a delay. So this allows people to get access to the most information about properties in your area.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And I think the IDX is very important, just like you mentioned, it's everything staying on your website, because the last thing you want to do is send them to, like you said, Zillow, realtors.com or condos.ca or whatever it may be. And then they start reaching out to another agent when really you're working with them. So that just avoids that issue.
Avoid rabbit trails as much as possible. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Now that you have, a website set up that has IDX integrations and some other things as well, how would you actually recommend you use that website to generate leads into your business?
So the most important thing would be your website needs to be set up to capture leads. There's so many times I've seen people, they have a website with information, but there's no way to contact them. There's no way to capture information. It's just literally a static page. So when I say your website needs to be set up to capture leads, let's say if we're giving out a buyer's guide, do you have a form or some way or a landing page that they need to you're going to capture at least their first name, an email address, or phone number to text them the link to the thing. A lot of times we see people give away so many free things and information on their website that they don't get that information. So that lead that you paid to get to your website or found you organically, that lead is lost. So, and two, you want, if your website can't capture leads, again, it's not working. It's not evergreen working for you. It's not while you're sleeping, getting leads so you can convert them. So some of the ways your website can convert leads or capture leads is by what are you giving information on. So number one thing is blogs. So everybody's got blog articles. One thing that you'll hear if you watch anything, especially if I do with Armilla or any of my videos, that we tell real estate agents, you don't sell homes, you sell a lifestyle and area. So the best thing you could do is throw away all these pictures of houses, because they can go see that on Zillow, and start posting about your community and start networking with business owners. And the reason why is that this will bring people to you. So one way to kind of naturally get leads organically through your search engine, organically means free. So the user is searching for restaurants in Houston, and my blog article on the top 3 taco shops in Houston come up. And so blog articles are a great way to do it. And then giveaway type of guides. So, you have your home buyer guides, your seller guides. If you have a lot of out-of-state traffic or a lot of people moving to your area from other cities or towns, then do like a first-time city guide in your area, but the places you need to eat, things to do, top 5 family parks or whatever, have a guide, but make sure that you can capture their information before you give them that information, because your website is the basic way that you can funnel everything. So send everything to your website. You can make landing pages for that specific content to keep them focused, or you're going to send them to listings. You can put your website in literally every online profile you have, Realtor.com, Zillow profiles, your Google business profile, all of that stuff, your paid ads, they should all be going to your website, because this is going to start generating traffic. That's going to help with that organic SEO. But your website, basically, there's just endless possibilities. I could go on for hours about this. Sorry, trying to summarize it. But you literally, your website is the funnel for everything. So just send everything to your website, have one central location that you're always referring people to. So that way you don't have them all over the place. And then just make sure that there's some way to capture leads and that they can, put their email address in a contact form to contact you, some way that you're getting their information before you do anything for them.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. And when it comes to, I know you mentioned a little bit about the SEO side of things, and I understand it's a very big, very complicated topic. And last time you're here, you had very long presentation just on SEO. So I'll try to keep it brief here today. But when it comes to SEO, I know you just mentioned blogs is a great way to rank organically. Is there any other things you can do, or some things that you would recommend that agents do to their websites to help them get some of that organic traffic to their website?
Yeah. So if you're using WordPress, use something like, it's called SEO by Yoast, Yoast. There's plugins that will help you kind of vet your pages to do that. So outside of all the technical, you can find videos on that stuff, how to do your page titles, your page description, all your meta tags. Let's give a basic SEO. So there's 3 main elements that you can do for SEO. So to get your site to rank. So your first thing is going to be about the keywords you use, the content you're using, and how you promote your website. So if we think of keywords, these are the kind of main words somebody's going to be searching, whether that's Houston Realtor or Realtor near me. Those are keywords they're searching for. And Google's going to index or crawl your site, scan all of your content, log it, and they're going to generate what keywords your website associates with and where you rank for that keyword. So the first thing would be, think of keywords like a funnel. You have your top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. Your top of your funnel are those keywords everybody's trying to compete for. Those are your high competition keywords, okay? So that's going to be like Realtor near me, Realtor in whatever city. These are keywords that Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, all that stuff, they're going to win every time. You're never going to beat them. So don't even focus all of your attention right there. We all think of keywords. Those are very common keywords. And then you have your middle of the funnel, which could be like homes in Houston, whatever specific neighborhood for 350,000. It's more kind of generic, still towards real estate. And then you have your bottom of the funnels would your low competition keywords, which is where you would start with, especially with blog articles, is keywords like crime rate in whatever area, or something to do about the living in that area, but it's not necessarily about homes for sale or how to sell my home or anything like that. It's more about the city you're living in. And that is the best way to start, because you're going to build some domain authority, which is basically how you're going to start ranking and kind of deal with this Google point system on where your website ranks for certain things. Once you have your keywords done and you've thought about all your keywords, you can make a spreadsheet of them. There's some keyword SEO tools I'll share at the end that you can do, like keyword generators and what's the competition level. But once you have your keywords in place, then you need to start writing your content. So your content will be the content throughout your pages, but the one place you can really focus these keywords on are blog articles. So that's, restaurant life, nightlife, city life here, moving from whatever city to Houston, crime rate, all that stuff we talked about. And then you can do city pages. So in mine, I cover Fort Bend County, and we have 3 or 4 cities that comprise of this area that are very close to each other. So my main thing is going to be kind of SEO for Houston, but I also want to do SEO for Katy, Sugar Land, Texas, Richmond, where I live. And so I'm going to make a separate page. It's kind of a summary of my website, is a city page. And you can do the same thing for neighborhoods. Like in Houston, we have downtown, midtown, uptown, Houston Heights. You can make pages for those areas and even have listings on those pages as well. And that starts having those low and medium competition keywords sprinkled throughout multiple pages and getting very specific in what the user is searching. And the biggest thing with content, make sure you don't have duplicate content. Google and other major search engines hate duplicate content. So you shouldn't have content repeating. So if you're doing city pages, instead of using the same content on every page and just changing the city name, they're going to know it's a duplicate. At least 30% of that content needs to be unique and shouldn't be taken from other websites either. So unique content is very important. And then it comes to promoting your site. Where are you putting your link? How does Google know you're around? So obviously you need to be registered with Google Search Console, maybe Bing Search Console, Google Analytics. So that way it knows to crawl your website. And then make sure you have a Google business profile. 50% of businesses still aren't using Google My Business, Google Business now profile. And that helps you rank with the map listings. So make sure you have that. Make sure you're registered with every Realtor online profile, that your website URL is there. There's backlinking, which backlinking just simply means that the link to your website is on other people's websites that are credible. So you can get featured on other blogs and websites. Maybe you wrote a great article about restaurants in a certain area, find a local blog to put that article on. And then that way they can link to your blog article or anything like that. So, and then you just start promoting, putting in social media profiles, everything for people to start getting exposure and start building your domain authority with that. So that's kind of quick SEO in a nutshell, focus on your keywords, content, promotion. And it's a lot more complicated than that, but it's a great place to start. So, all right, long explanation.
Awesome. And I really like the idea that you mentioned of just, focusing your content on, crime rates, things to do in the city, cost of living, restaurants, because people that are looking to live there, they're going to be doing those kind of searches, but you're not competing with these absolute giants that are just going to destroy you every time when it comes to the ranking. So that's a really good tip. Definitely. Now, last question for you, Jacob, before we turn to a couple of the comments here is for an agent, maybe a newer agent or somebody that just doesn't have a big budget, what would you recommend is the best solution for them in order to get a real estate website up and running, actually start working on some of these things that you were talking about?
So there's a lot of free tools out there or very inexpensive tools. So if you absolutely can't afford to hire somebody, I understand being a real estate agent is super expensive. I don't think they exaggerate enough on how expensive it is to get into a real estate agent, to become a real estate agent. So if you're going to build a website, if you're going with an actual web builder, you're looking at $1,500 minimum plus for a decent website. But if you need to build it on your own, there's free tools like WordPress. Again, I recommend WordPress. Even if you just download WordPress, they have so many free templates. And then if you have your IDX through your CRM, so for instance, like KV Core, you can put the search tools, copy and paste those inside of there. They're just going to reroute to your IDX page. But there's so many things that you can do. Even if, like I said, when you have KV Core, you can buy that plugin. They walk you through on how to copy the functionalities to each page. So WordPress is a great one. If you have to use Wix or Weebly, you can use them. They're not my favorite because they're not that great for me for SEO. WordPress is way better, especially when it comes to the blog aspect of it. You can always hire somebody on Fiverr. There's plenty of people that can at least help you if you're not techie to get it set up and installed on your hosting. There's plenty of places. Even your hosting now will help you set up a WordPress website. You just have to put your content on there. But you can get somebody on Fiverr. I even have a template on my website that's just a standard template that has like step-by-step video tutorials on to do it. And I'll put a promo code to give everybody $50 off. But if you need a website template and you need instructions on how to go through and set it up, you can take a look at that. It's another effort, but there's plenty of viable things, especially with Fiverr and WordPress nowadays, that you can get it built relatively quickly and very inexpensive.
Awesome. That's great. Well, that's all the questions that we had here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn to the chat. So if anybody has any specific questions, feel free to unmute yourselves or just drop it in the chat and we'll ask Jacob there in just a second.